Okay, welcome back. We're about ready to build a container to put these things in. So there's lots of choices for containers. I'm gonna use one called VBox. And VBox means things are gonna stack vertically. So I'm gonna say VBox. How about, I don't know, VB name? That kind of sort of makes sense. Equals a new VBox. And inside here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it the LB name. In other words, I'm going to include the controls in that constructor. So TF name, like this. Okay. So now I have a brand new thing. Helps you if you spell it right. Now I have a brand new thing called a VBox, and I want to put the VBox into a scene. Okay, cool. So this is going to be fairly straightforward. Scene. And since there's only really going to be one, I'm just going to call it main. That, right? And so this is going to be a new scene. And inside the scene, I'm going to put the VBox guy. And that's it. Okay. Let's run this. See what it looks like. First of all, when this thing runs, since I didn't give it a size, oh, what on earth did I do wrong? Oh, haha, I forgot to put the scene. Okay, I built the scene, but didn't do anything with it. So do you think maybe there's something in stage, if I started typing set, and maybe with an S, where I could say set scene, main, something like that? Okay, let's try that again. Okay, and there it is. Now that thing's kind of tiny, and we're going to fix that in just a second, but it kind of sort of worked. It put these things vertically. Now, just for grins, I'm going to make a couple of changes to this thing before we get much further. Instead of using a V box, I'm going to use an H box. Okay? I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to change the name of the thing, but I'm using an H box now. And you can probably imagine what an H box does, right? So this is going to look more like a normal form would look. You know, how you would have things where the label is off to the left and then the text field is off to the right. See? That's kind of sort of normal looking. Cool? All right. So this is generally how it works. You build the controls first, like a label and a text field. And then you create a container, like a VBox or like an HBox. Then you build the scene, and then you add the scene to the stage. There's 4 steps in this thing. There's a code listing, 12.2, on page 789, 768, or 769. It does exactly what we just did. Okay, so setting the size of the scene, that thing was kind of small, right? So let's tweak it a little bit. When we built our scene, we could also tell it how big we want this thing to be. So I'm just going to put a comma in here and say 300, I don't know, 100, something like that. And let's try that again. So now our scene, and hence the stage, is going to be considerably larger. Cool? Doesn't look quite so cramped in there. Okay, so there's some other things you can do, like alignment. In my VBox or in my HBox, I could go in there and tell it I want to set the alignment. So let's do that. So somewhere here in my in fact, I really don't like it. I'm just going to call it, how about C for container? How's that for a name? Because if I switch it back between H and V, it won't make any sense to call it one thing. All right, so let's go here and say C name, and then I'm going to do set alignment. And there it is way down there. And it uses a thing called pause. Hey, does that look like an enumeration to you? Yeah, it certainly does. Okay, let's try that again. We haven't changed hardly anything other than we just told it where to center it inside the scene. That's it. That's all we've done. And so this thing, instead of being up at the top or over here in the corner, it's smack dab in the middle of this guy. Kind of makes sense? Now, the position center has to do with, like in this case, the up and down kind of a thing. All right. So I'm going to switch it back to the other type, the vertical type, just to show you what I'm talking about. In fact, we'll probably end up leaving it on vertical for a while. So I'm going to go here and put this back to V. Oh! I have no idea what the heck I hit on the keyboard, but it certainly wasn't what I wanted. I wanted a capital V and a capital V. Okay, now let's run this thing. And so these guys ought to be stacked up on top of each other vertically. Yay! Okay, cool. So the next thing they talk about is displaying images. Now, I don't really understand why they're jumping into images, but that's okay. On page 772, they talk about putting pictures into your thing. So we need to extract some data from the supplemental materials. So I'm going to go to my course. I'm going to go to modules. I'm going to go down here to supplemental material. There's one called Chapter 12 Images Zip. And I don't want to look at it. I just want to download the guy. And then I'm just going to take this guy and just drag him onto my desktop. You could put it wherever you want. I'm just saying, just to make it easy, I'm just going to drag and drop this guy onto my desktop. Okay. And that's all I needed to do to get to there. Whoops, I got two of these things running. All right. So what I need to do now is, I'm probably going to have to make the scene a little bit bigger, otherwise I won't actually be able to see these images. So right off the bat, let's make this one 800 by 600, just as a way to start. So 800 by 600, just to make this guy a little bigger than that. Okay, cool. Now there's two new classes that you have to be able to learn. Remember, we have to build our controls first before we do anything. So it's perfectly okay to just kind of stop where we are and start adding more controls, and then later put the controls in something, right? That kind of makes sense? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and create me a thing called an image. So image, I'm going to call it, I don't know, IM1. I mean, I don't have a very good name here. Is equal to a new image. Now this thing uses, well, first of all, let me go ahead and get the red squigglies to go away with an import. This thing uses a URL based thing. So typically it's designed like you go to the internet and get something. But you can force it to go get a local file by just typing the word file like that. So it kind of sort of looks like a URL. Okay, so I now need to go to the place where I put my things. So this is going to look a little ugly. And by the way, you're going to have to figure this out on your own. In my case, it's users. That's the name. And my account name is emmett.gray, but it obviously won't be that on your machine. And then desktop. And I happen to know there's one out there called Hot Air Balloon, I believe it is. Well, doggone it, I guess I have to go look. I don't remember what the name of it is. Yes, Hot Air Balloon JPG. So, Hot Air Balloon JPG. Okay, so I built an image now. Now, there's two things to this. One is building the image, and the other is how to graphically show it on the screen. I mean, that we are doing graphical programming, right? So now I need to have a thing called an image view guy. So let's go ahead and do a new image view. So image view, I'm just going to call it IV1. I don't, new image view, and I point my image into that guy. Okay, and of course I'm going to get red squigglies to say, you're missing an import, you're missing an import. Okay, now that I've pulled this guy in and put it inside an image view, now I need to put the image view inside the scene. Well, I'm just going to put it right after this guy. So I don't remember. Yeah, I think I left it on vertical. So it would be the text field, and then the so that VBox guy, right? Right. So I could go in here and say, I'll tell you what. Let's move this guy down. So he's kind of last, okay? Kind of makes sense to do it that way. And so I'm just going to tack this guy onto the end and throw me my image viewer in here. IV1. All right, let's go see what this thing looks like. Now that, and so I'm vertical, so it should be label, text box, and then this gargantuan image. And I don't see an image. C:users, image grade, desktop, hot air balloon. That certainly looks right to me, unless I just fat fingered it somehow. Well, just in case that looks right. Let me just copy this over in case I screwed up. That looks the same. Let's try it one more time. There you go. Okay. And obviously this thing is way, way, way too big for me to do something with. So, I mean, I can't even see the other two items we put in there. All right, so one of the things we're probably going to have to do when we get to the image viewer is to set its size. So I'm going to say IV1, and then I'm going to tell it set fit width. And I don't know, how about 100? And then I'm going to do IV1 set fit height, as you can probably imagine, and I'll put it at 100. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, fit with a T. Dang it, I can't type today. Come on, cut it out. Okay, let's try that again. Phew. So now we should have a little thumbnail size 100 by 100 image in here. Not a gargantuan. So I got the label, I got the text box, and then I got this guy. Cool. Okay. So this kind of sort of makes sense to me. There's a way that you can, instead of doing the X and Y coordinate both sizing, if you screw up, you might distort the aspect ratio of the image. Like, for example, like this. I mean, it's going to look kind of funny because the height is going to be taller than the width. And so a lot of people don't do it that way because like, ugh. So what you do is you pick one of the dimensions, whichever one it is you want, and then the other one you basically say, I want to set the preserve aspect ratio. Preserve ratio to true. Dang, I cannot type today. And what this basically means is, okay, I can just set one of the widths and the machine can figure out what the other, dimension should be. This is probably the safer way to do things because otherwise, all I want to do is just scale the guy down, right? And I don't want to have to go look and see what is the size, what his aspect ratio is and whip out my calculator and do some math. Come on. I mean, it just makes sense instead to go in here and just say, preserve the aspect ratio and pick one of the dimensions, either the height or the width, whichever one you want, and then have it do the rest. Okay, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark. You guys know how this works.